is crazy. He's friends with Richard James, you know, FX Twin, and it's that kind of really, you know, occasionally quite frantic kind of sound, and he's done many albums, and my birth father has played some gigs. He played 3 or 4 gigs with him as his drummer.
Wow.
And it's crazy because War for me is one of my favourite labels. So when I met him and he was telling me about his work, you know, he told me that, and it was like full circle, you know, it was just incredible.
That's probably where you got your sense of groove from then.
yeah, probably. And I mean, the day I met him, wow, you know, we met, and obviously it was very emotional. And
was it recently? Or?
Say again?
Was that recently?
It was 5 years ago.
5 years ago, yeah.
So obviously it was very emotional, and I think he was more nervous than I was about it, because I've always been very accepting of the situation, and my parents that brought me up have been great. They've been amazing, and so I didn't kind of want any explanation or anything. There was none of that. I just wanted to connect with him and tell him he did the right thing. So once we kind of got that out of the way, and he obviously it was intimate and all the rest of it. We went. I think how many pubs we went in, I've forgotten. You know, and he told me everything, and he told me all about his music, and he's also played with I forget the guy's name. He's played with another musician from Sun Ra's orchestra, which totally blew me away. That
really
blew my mind. Yeah, I'll find out the guy's name. I think it was a horn player of some type, but.
So can you expect any kind of collaboration now with?
I've already done one. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I did one in 2006, and you know what? It got completely ignored by everybody. It got completely missed. The person that picked up on it was Laurent Garnier.
Really?
Laurent was playing it, and it started out as a remix for Black Devil Disco Club.
I see.
And what happened was Bernard Favre from Black Devil Disco Club, he couldn't get his head round the mix, because what I'd done was I'd recorded Paul Hessian, who is my birth father, in a studio with his kit, and he has this, basically it looks like a little bit like a tool belt of all these different implements to hit the drums with, because of the amount of, obviously you've seen it before, you know, the amount of different sounds he has to create, and he does his tracks are kind of up to 20-30 minutes long, you know, and they're all just improvised. It's him and his drum kit, and it's the way they build steam and go into different areas. It's mind blowing, really. It's very, very, very abstract in a lot of ways, and so we recorded him for maybe 4 hours, and at the end of it, he was beat. He was done in because of the amount of energy he expends. And then what I did was. I then had the parts from Bernard Favre of Black Devil, the track, and then in the studio I had the recordings from all the different mics of the kit, and then created a pulse, and then there was some keys from it's like an arpeggio of the Black Devil Disco Club track, and then used elements of Paul's drums. I'll send you the track, but it's really it's quite an interesting way, because so much of dance music is on the grid. It's so linear, regulated, and there's the pulse that keeps the time, and there's the arpeggio that keeps the time, and then there's Paul, and he's deviating from that, and then there are elements where I've lined it back up so it comes in and out of sync, and it really goes into different areas, and there's no kick drum for kind of like 3 minutes while he builds the steam, and then the kick comes in. So it's so that's what happened. But that came out in 2006, and then on the other side, I just had the recording of Paul on his own, and then I'd applied some effects to it. So I didn't have any of the tracks and any of the arpeggio or any of Bernard's parts. So when basically he got the mix, and I think he was just probably thought, what's this shit, you know? And so I just put it out quietly on my own little label, and I think what I may do is bring it out again as a vinyl edition, because I think it could probably still be a viable option, maybe maybe in the future. So perhaps I may do that.
Absolutely. So tell us now about you know. You said you had a label. You have these things that has come out recently, and how do you work in the studio then when you do these things? Are you tell us a little about that process?
Yeah, well, what do you want to know?
Well,
in what way?
Let's see. You said that the grid is one thing because the grid is always there now with the computers and stuff. Do you try to keep to that now? You said you try to work around it. What kind of software do you use to avoid the grid feel? And,
sure. Well, I think
you are obviously a drummer's son. So
yeah, there's I think the way that I've approached things has always been with I suppose a lot of it's collaging in a rough sense, because the starting point for anything I do is never the same thing really. Now, I know a lot of people that start with drums, and over the years for certain things that's appropriate.
Right.
For other things it's maybe less appropriate. The starting point can come from anything, so it's a case of sometimes I get the urge, something will just come to me. I can be maybe reading a book or maybe just looking out the window, and it will just come, an idea will come, and then I'm straight in the studio,
right,
like a shot. Everything, the world stops still, and I have to go in and kind of catch the wave, if you like.
So it's more like what's in your head and how to just get it there. That matters.
And the idea to latch onto the idea and to really to catch it and to translate it is when you do that, and you can feel yourself completely in tune with it, and it almost becomes a physical object, because when you get the urge and you connect with it and you immediately pull it in and start to translate it. Once you've started to build it and then you start to sculpt it and change it, it then becomes easier and even easier. But that level of being in tune with it, you have to. I try and I create conditions which kind of facilitate that, to make the I suppose the availability of kind of tuning into that mentally to make that more likely. And over the years, that's what I've kind of learned to do. So there are small little processes that I'll do.
Is part of the process then testing it out on the club and then changing it again? Or?
Well, part of the process is actually probably not even technical. In fact, I'd say more of my approach is not even in the studio,
right,
than the actual time in the studio, because I don't produce records because I'm a DJ and I have to make records to push my career.
Right.
That's not why I do it. It never has been. I do it because I just love the moment of creation and to create something. So I don't do it in that way really. I kind of and I think I truly believe that if I was more if I approach things in that very clinical way, I would probably have a bigger name, or I would be very closely associated with perhaps one thing.
Right.
But I don't I'm pretty. I guess I'm really quite self-indulgent and really quite selfish with it really, rather than trying to replicate the same thing and build a very strong brand and it's associated with one sound. So my studio process is kind of it's kind of quite haphazard, I guess.
Do you do other artistic things like painting or photography?
Yeah, well, I've done a little bit of photography and I've done some painting over the years. And
that's why I was just guessing that this guy must be into that, because you're talking about actually, which is quite interesting and deeper than some of the others, that you're talking about the art as more like a whole form, right? Like, no matter if it's music or lyrics or
That's right, and I studied interior design
when
I left school. Yeah, art was my strongest subject when I was at school, And what happened was I did 3 years of at Leeds College of Art and Design, which is my hometown, and then